Hi friends! One of our most common questions, concerns that comes up with people who are trying to learn herbalism, and it's definitely a big concern for me, it's still something I'm working through, is just the amount of herbs that there are and the amount of information that is out there on the internet about herbs. When you start learning about herbs, it can quickly become overwhelming. I mean, there are hundreds of books, there are so many talented and knowledgeable herbalists out there, and they all have kind of their own thoughts about herbs and their own way of working with herbs and their own way of interpreting herbs and their own, you could find one person says an herb is good for these things and the next person says, oh no, that herb is actually good for these things. There's a lot of information out there, and it can be a little information overload. It can be really overwhelming. It's easy to feel like, where do I start? How do I do this? How do I get any familiarity with herbs? And I will say that the course, The Taste of Herbs on learningherbs.com, which I will put in a link in the description for this course, it really helped me to get that hands-on experience I needed. Like, that's the real key as an herbalist. If you're really seriously interested in this, the books are helpful. The books are definitely useful in knowing like safety information, knowing about the herb, but to truly cement it in your mind, to truly understand the herb outside of the book, you need to experience it. So again, you might be like, oh my gosh, but there's still so many. I mean, just take your time with that. My suggestion, the best exercise, again, I got this exercise from The Taste of Herbs, is to set aside 5 or ideally 15 minutes of your day to have an herbal tea moment. I should put a disclaimer as well that technically it could be called a tisane, because some purists would like to call teas only made with specifically tea leaves, which is its own individual plant, and to make what we think of as a tea with herbs only is actually a tisane. But to save some time, I'll still just call it herbal tea. Just wanted to put that out there for the purists. But I am referring to basically using a small amount of herbs in water, brewed for a short amount of time, and making that an herbal tea. So essentially, I just recommend experimenting, like taking that time and have it be a meditation where you say, okay, today I really want to familiarize myself with peppermint. So I'm going to take some peppermint. Maybe you start with a teaspoon in a 6-ounce cup, brew that with boiling water, and just really spend some focused time and awareness, like in a meditative state with that tea. So take the time to smell it, to savor the aroma, take a moment to recognize whatever feelings or memories that aroma awakens in you, and just sip it, maybe let it linger in your mouth, really taste it, really get a feel for the taste. Don't just drink it real fast, throw it back. Sometimes in the morning, if you have a morning green tea or something, you just toss it back as fast as you can. You don't really think about it. But for this tea moment, this special time for you, the special time for self-care, take a moment to really savor it, really let it linger before you swallow it and get the next swallow, and take a moment between swallows to say, how do I feel? I had the peppermint. What does it make me feel? Does it make me feel a little bit cooler? Is it something that's more spicy? Does it make me start to feel calm as I drink it? And if you're someone who likes to journal and take notes, it may also be helpful for your learning to write down that experience. Like, okay, I drank mint and this is how it tasted to me. This is what I experienced. During this 15-minute meditation, I had these emotions come up or these thoughts come up, and get creative. You might find that, okay, well, if a teaspoon of mint was like that, what if I tried a tablespoon? What if I tried, instead of hot water, I let it infuse with cold water? And how does that taste? So some of the ones I was recommended to do as some examples for you to maybe get started with is ginger. That there is a big difference between about an inch of sliced fresh ginger that would be boiled or decocted into a tea versus a small amount of dried ginger. Like maybe try making teas with both and seeing what's the difference between those. Or there's chamomile. We typically think of chamomile as a very soft, light, almost sweet tasting tea because typically you're just using a little tea bag of chamomile. So try that. Try your little tea bag of chamomile. Maybe let it sit for 3 minutes. And then try adding a lot of chamomile. Again, maybe a few tablespoons, and let it sit for 15 or 20 minutes. So you're brewing a stronger tea of chamomile. And what I noticed is that it is very bitter tasting. It no longer tastes like the sweet chamomile you get in a tea bag. It's very bitter, but we also find that it's also more sedating. So if that's something you're really looking for, that might be an aha moment. You might have in the past just disregarded chamomile as not that potent or effective. Everybody said it's good for sleep, but you try it and it doesn't really do much for you. But then you try the strong amount of chamomile and it knocks you out. Who knows what you'll experience? Another great one is, and I'll tell you my own story with this, was Schisandra berries. I tasted a berry by itself. This is sometimes also called the 5-taste fruit. So when you taste it, you might get spicy, you might get salty. I actually got bitter. Like I thought it was really bitter. But it tastes completely different whether you brew it in hot water or brew it in cold water. And it might even grow on you after time. You might find, I don't really like it in hot water, but it's perfect in cold water. Over time, I ended up loving it and sad that I can no longer really enjoy it because it aggravates my GERD, so I can't really enjoy it. Thankfully, I only bought a small amount. So again, as you're going through this process experimenting, maybe just try buying the smallest amount of the herb. And of course, I feel like it does go without saying to not practice this on any herb that you're unsure of. Like I thought I was sure on Schisandra that I didn't have any contraindications until it made me feel bad after drinking it. And I looked it up and I was like, this is bad for people with GERD, people who have heartburn issues. Okay, this can aggravate it. So I do, of course, recommend that before you just experiment willy-nilly with any kind of herb that you've got lying around or somebody gives you, do your due diligence, do your research, make sure that it's safe, make sure there's no contraindications for any health conditions that you may personally have. And maybe at the beginning, stick with herbs that are generally regarded as safe, like oat straw, dandelion, ginger, some more safe herbs like that. And there you go. It's really simple. It might seem so simple that you disregard it, but trust me, this makes all the difference in integrating that knowledge of herbs. Like this will really take you out from the, oh my gosh, there's so much information. I can't remember what herb is good for which, what herb does this. You just take at least 5, hopefully 15 minutes. Take that for you. Remind yourself that you're worth that time. You remind yourself you're worth a little moment of self-care, a little moment of presence, and take that time to say, I'm studying, Tulsi. I'm reading it in the book. Let me make a Tulsi tea. Let me experience it. Let me spend some time. And, in my belief, I feel like all the herbs have a spirit to them. They all have a plant spirit. So when I'm doing this exercise with my tea, I'm tuning into that. You're tuning in with your whole being. So typically, maybe when you're drinking something on other times of your day, you don't really do it mindfully. But in this case, have a special awareness with it, to be mindful, to drink it with your whole body, to really feel every sensation, and you'll come into a greater understanding and a greater connection with herbs. So I hope this little technique helped you, and I hope that you're having a wonderful day and you're caring for yourself and loving yourself. Thank you for your time, and blessed be.